motivation, but it's it's a concern from their point of being able to defend themselves against what some folks believe is an increase in violent crime and risk to people, not only in their cars but in their own homes.
Well, the concealed carry, you mentioned it, Bob. I mean, was that law as written impacted at all by this? I mean, was that changed at all by the Castle Doctrine?
No, but what happened was along with the Castle Doctrine, there were changes in the requirements of how to transport a weapon in a motor vehicle. Prior to the amendments, you could not have a gun and the ammunition in the passenger compartment of your car.
Oh.
Now, while you're still not permitted to have a loaded weapon in the vehicle, you are allowed to have an unloaded weapon and have the ammunition accessible to you in your vehicle. So that was the main change as far as anything with the concealed carry went.
Did that happen kind of in tandem with Castle, or?
Yeah, there were a number of different statutes that were amended by the legislature that went into effect in September.
I see. So September there was some fine-tuning
there was a series of statutes that had been tinkered.
So probably let's talk about the present a little bit. Since September, under the amendments, if you will. Let's see, if I was a concealed carrier, I had the appropriate credentials, and I wanted to have the gun with me in the car. Once again, if you would run through that again, what can I do or not do with the ammunition?
Well, you can't have it. You can't have the gun loaded. Okay.
Okay.
But you can certainly have it in a clip in your console or in your glove box, so that the gun is loadable.
Okay.
Before, you couldn't have the ammunition in a place where you could have access to it without leaving the vehicle. So you'd have to have your gun in a box in your passenger compartment, but your ammunition needed to be in the trunk.
Oh, okay.
That's not the case anymore.
Sort of defeated the purpose in some ways.
And look, there's a lot of good reasons for us not to have folks driving around with loaded weapons. Okay,
yeah, I guess there is.
The car is a situation that creates a dangerous situation for law enforcement.
Sure.
Unfortunately, we hear a couple times a year a police officer that ends up being shot in the course of a traffic stop. Also, for some reason, people seem to kind of lose themselves in their ability to control their tempers when they're behind a car.
Sure,
road rage. And
so there's your reason for maybe keeping the bullets separate from the gun.
Right.
But now, at least they're closer. I mean, I guess you did need to use the thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the idea. In order to be able to defend yourself in your car from somebody who's trying to gain access with deadly force, it didn't make much sense if you couldn't have your bullets with you. So that's why those things were amended at the same time.
I see. Well, that's interesting. Hey, Bob, you mentioned something also in passing, which I know would be of an interest to our viewers. Maybe if you just know off the top of your head or whatever, but shed some light on this. If you are, our show is the Castle Doctrine, but we're talking a little bit about some other things, self-defense and concealed carry, which I guess all kind of come together here. But if a police officer were to stop you, I mean, a traffic stop or whatever reason, he'd have good reason to stop you, and you are a concealed carrier, you're doing everything right. The gun is unloaded. It's in the car. The clip, if you will, is in the glove box, as you mentioned. Are you supposed to tell the officer immediately what are you supposed to do? Because this could be a real sticky situation.
Yeah, I mean, if the officer is just in the process of writing you a simple speeding ticket, there's no requirement that you inform the officer. If it gets into anything more about when you're being asked to get out of the car or anything like that, it's probably a good idea to let a police officer know that there's a gun around. Knowledge is always a good thing in those situations, and when folks are surprised by finding things, they have a
this is common sense
react differently. So yeah, it's common sense.
But you don't know of any law that says, officer, I need to tell you right now.
I haven't reviewed that for the show, John, so I hate to get too far out on that, but I'm not familiar with that off the top of my head that there's that requirement.
Okay, well, that's right. One time, actually, I believe I was visiting you and on this very topic, and at your law office. I think it's a different law office than what you work at now. But there was actually a picture of a gun on your front window of the law office. And in essence, the thing said, don't bring your guns in here. I guess a lawyer is like any other businessman. You have a shop, so to speak. That's permissible. I mean,
the concealed carry law allows shopkeepers,